Good morning, folks, and welcome to another fantastic edition of Money Truth Moments with our very own Money Truth expert and whisperer. And now I think explorer because we have a map in the back. So, hey, how you doing, Judy?
The Money Whisperer and Explorer.
There
Yeah,
we go.
yeah. This is
Money
kind of
Explorer. There
cool.
we go. We have a new one now. Oh, for
I've
sure.
been to a lot of those places.
That's
Today I'm in
awesome.
Tulsa, Oklahoma, coming to you live. Isn't that
All
fun?
right, folks. So, hey, that's dedication because I know last week you were in Texas. Here we are in Oklahoma, and I can't wait to see where you are next week as well, too. So, folks, if you're just joining us, welcome. Please make sure you're following Judy at Judy Copenbarger. Today, we are following up on our summer series, and we're talking about financial peer pressure, right? Some of you may say, what is that? Some of us say, I know what that is. But today we're going to be talking about keeping up. Keeping up can cost us more than what we really think. So for today's show, you're going to learn more about how financial peer pressure influences your spending decisions. You're going to find out why comparison is a costly habit and how focusing on your own priorities can strengthen your long-term financial success. So what do you say we get started, Judy?
Let's do it.
All right. So with social media showing everyone's highlight reel, right, it is becoming harder for people to stay focused on their own financial goals. So how do we deal with it?
Boy, I just say don't look. Don't worry about what other people think. Easier said than done sometimes, right? It's easy to get into that comparison deal, appearances. How do I look? Do I look right? Am I meeting the expectations? Are they realistic expectations? All of that. So that can really be an issue for people. Personally, I haven't ever really had a struggle with this, but I know it's a real thing for a lot of people. And if you have a couple, one of them is going to probably have a little bit more propensity to worry about what other people think than the other. So I've dealt with that a little bit, from the outside.
All right, folks, and also, so I'm gonna talk about this really briefly too. So when you're dealing with this and you're talking, we always talk about mindset, right? And I think really that's what everything really comes down to. And how do we perceive things? How do we change things, and so forth. Um, but it's interesting that pressure of buying things or actually, it's becoming harder is because you're constantly seeing, hey, so and so has got a new. I'm going to use like the car analogy. Has got a Corvette and all that, or they've got. Hey, did you see the new toy that they got for? Believe it or not, even mowing their lawn, right? Like simple things like that we shouldn't be paying attention to, but yet it's there. It's constantly on there. And I know that there's a lot of folks that like to live life on social media. Whether you're an influencer or not, but that's the key. It's like how do you do reality versus their reality, right? And that's, I think, something that we're going to talk about a little further as well too.
Yeah, I think
But
it's
what do you?
important. Oh, sorry. I think it's important
No,
for some
go
people to make
ahead.
a status. It's you want to fit in. You have the fear of missing out, the FOMO thing, right? It's getting that outside validation. And so the mindset, I think you're right. That's something that we can do. You can't control what everybody else is doing in the neighborhood, but my mindset is, do I need to be validated by them, or can I be just satisfied and grateful with what I have and how I look and what we own, right? But that's a big conversation. I think a lot of it happens right here.
So that leads me to my next question, and that's, why do people feel that pressure to buy things that they might not even want?
I think that's it. FOMO, validation, status, keeping up with the Joneses. I think that's a big thing for a lot of people. Like you said, they got a new lawnmower, they got a new car. Everybody can see what's in their driveway, and they can see what's in my driveway. Even they got a new gardener and they have pretty flowers out front. I better go, get a new gardener or get busy on Saturday. So it's all those things, how the kids are dressed, what school they go to, what zip code we live in. And so we need to ask ourselves at some point, some of those things might be really important and important to our goals and our values and our family and our long-term approach to finances. But other things, are they really important, or do we just kind of think they are? Right? We're
That's a great
looking at.
point. Yeah. So you've been doing this for quite a while. You've dealt with folks. We always talk about this. Some that are just starting out, some that have been around but never really learned their life's lessons, right, and things like that. But what financial patterns have you seen when people constantly compare themselves to others?
Uh, it's going to show up in debt. It's going to show up on the credit cards. Now, there are some trust babies, some people that just the money flow is there. They know never have to think about it, and they never really master stewardship and planning. But you'll see it for most people, it'll start showing up on the credit cards, the balances, and pretty soon that line item to pay off debt every month in the monthly expenses is just like bigger than everything else. Overspending, bringing home things and you look and go, the boxes and the bags. Now with Amazon, right? The boxes show it.
Yep.
Wow, did I really need that? Am I hiding things in the trunk of my car and bringing them in when my spouse isn't available to see what I've done? Is there any shame or guilt in what you're buying? That might be an indication. I think people that want to retire at a certain age and they can't, that's an indicator that maybe they have spent for the wrong reasons or overspent. It's making choices. It's like, if we just look at what is the value of what I'm purchasing, not needs, wants, wishes. I mean, that's an important conversation that we've had many times. So if you're watching, go to that one. That really gives you a good, like, how do I do this at my house? But it's choosing, it's just choosing. It's the mindset. Once we were probably about 30 and I really wanted an armoire to put my clothes in. I just thought the furniture was beautiful. I liked the big wood thing. And I saved and saved and saved. And every month I put a little away. Every paycheck I put a little away and in my envelope in the sock drawer, right? my safety deposit box before we had them. And so I saved and saved and saved. And probably a couple of years, because I wanted this armoire, and I'd go to the furniture store and visit it. And that was before we could see it online. It's like, oh, that would just be so beautiful. And so when it came time, I had enough money to get it. It's coming up on the Memorial Day sale. I decided, after I sat down and thought, do I really want it? Which is, I think, the key to have that conversation. Do I really want it? And the answer was, you know what, I'd prefer to have, even though that would be lovely. If it showed up, I would not complain. But the same amount of money is what I needed for season tickets to the theater for Larry and I. And so we could go, for a whole year, every month to go see a play or a musical or a concert or something. And get the value of those experiences rather than having a piece of furniture. And so I chose to do that year. And then later, when it was time to save again for the armoire, something else, was more important. And I never went back and never got it. But I think it was that process of intention. Am I spontaneously purchasing something? Is there delayed gratification? Am I saving? I think I did a lot of things, right? There's a lot of lessons in that little story. But when it came down to it, I said, is this really what I want? Does it give me what I need? And I don't think it was really necessarily about status. Maybe it was about pride or nostalgia. Maybe it was about convenience or comfort. I'm not sure what it was about, but it wasn't about experiences. And at that point in my life, that's what I wanted to have. And that's the choice that we made. But that's just a story that comes to mind about when you're going through the process of what am I buying? What's its purpose? I think that's worth looking at, to get the mindset right.
No, for sure. And folks, if you're just joining us, welcome to today's show. We are actually discussing today financial peer pressure and keeping up, and by keeping up, what it can really cost you in the long run too. So if you didn't tune in earlier, please share the stream as well too, so folks can catch up on this, because it's a very prominent subject that we don't really talk about as much, but it's in the forefront when we're not thinking about it. So let me ask you this also. What mindset helps people break free from this financial comparison? And I'll give you an example after, because I think I've caught myself on a lot of this. And something you just said too about the packages and hiding them in the trunk. I'm guilty of that, but for a good reason. For birthdays and because for Christmas, everybody wants to know. Mother's Day, when you're trying to keep it out of people snooping around or whatever. That's my only guilt. So I will confess to that.
Yeah, I've done that too. It's like, oh, are they not looking? Especially when the kids are little, you got to be really careful.
Yes,
yeah, one of my sons recently told me that the year that he discovered Christmas wasn't what he thought, that he saw us bringing all the stuff out of the trunk from upstairs window. I had no idea he was watching. And he saw that stuff. And then Christmas morning, voila. And he's like, yeah, I'm not buying it. It's like, oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't know that. And I just learned that a few years ago. He's 30, right? It's like, oh, shoot.
Wow.
So we try.
Right.
But yeah, you're right. The mindset, gratitude helps, being intentional helps. Defining the process of purchasing something on your own terms. I think long-term thinking, how does it align with your goals? I would say when you're going to make a major purchase that is not necessarily necessary, there's like two questions you want to ask yourself. The first one is, does this align with my goals? Does this align with my values? Right? Is this, in my lane of where I'm going long term? And the second thing is, if anyone, who am I trying to impress? And I think if you get past those two threshold questions and the answer is, I'm not trying to impress anyone. I want it. I need it. It's time to do it. And it is in alignment with my long-term goals and my values. Do it. Right? If you can afford it, do it. So I think those two threshold questions might be helpful if this is a struggle.
Yeah, and you know what? Some of these lessons I learned the hard way when I was a kid. And it's, when you're a kid, you think, the money, it grows on trees, and why can't we have this, or why can't we have that? So and so has this. And for me, it was always about, since I was in sports, like my friends had like the latest and greatest Nike shoe or whatever it was at the time. Adidas, if I remember, Puma, I think, is one of the brands back in the day, right? But my dad was always of the mindset that it doesn't matter what anybody else has got. This is what we have, and you shouldn't be trying to compare yourself with folks. So he would make it a point to take us to what was this? Do you remember the shoe stores that were around forever?
Stride Right. Stride
that
Right
was one, but the whole little stores, the shoe stores, I can't even remember what they were. But anyway, he used to take us there on purpose, just because, okay, these shoes look just as good. You know what I mean? But we're not paying, and back then, $60 for a pair of shoes was insane.
Oh.
So we would Payless shoes. That's what it was. Payless shoe store. Yes.
Every strip mall had a Payless. You're right.
Yes.
Yeah, you don't see those anymore. Yeah.
You don't. Yeah, but it was a place where you still got new shoes. They may not have that brand logo and all that. But the point, I think, for me, was that peer pressure. Like, I'm not gonna fit in. Like, I'm not gonna be able to be like these guys because I don't have this. And that's a kid mentality, right? But at the time, I just remember just being so rebellious with my parents, like, why can't I have that? And it wasn't, I will tell you, instead I started earning my own money, that I started changing that mindset about, do I really want to spend all this right now? Or versus, yeah, I can get away with that too. So I'm sure there's a lot of folks listening that have similar stories, but I'll never forget that. And I think that's helped me. As much as I didn't want to admit it then, it's helped me a lot now to look at things a lot different. And obviously learning over the years from some of the subjects we've talked about too is kind of opened that door,
Yeah. We had that experience with our oldest son. He had a lot of peer pressure around 6th, 7th, 8th grade. And he wanted to have the t-shirt from the name brand, the $35 t-shirt, $40 t-shirt. And he was a kid, right? Boys go through the stuff. And so we just said, here's how much money you have. You can get a couple nice shorts and a couple nice t-shirts if you go to that store, or at this store, it's going to be one of the big discount Kohl's or something like that. Or here you could get like a whole, closet full of stuff, every color. And so when he got to spend his own money, he shopped really differently. And then he's like, that's so dumb. Why would you buy, a $40, $50 t-shirt? It's like, well, you can. I'm not saying don't do it, but he started to figure out the value when he got to, use his own money. So that's a lesson to all the young parents out there. As soon as you can do that in their lives, maybe even grade school, let them have some control over what they get. And then they'll have those lessons. So it's like, well, I only got one and my sister got 4. Why? Well, right. So, and there might be the value to one, kids are all different. People are all different. So one child might really want a couple nice things, and the other one might want a whole closet full of stuff that, is disposable. And that's fine, but you let them choose.
One of the things I taught our son with this too is, I don't know if you remember, but one of the trends that's been around now, I don't know if it still is or not, but it's this Supreme brand, right? All it says is Supreme with just a block square. That's it. And kids are spending hundreds, $200, whatever it was, just because this thing had the name Supreme. And I finally said to him, okay, you realize that's one guy that posted something that's famous. It says Supreme, and now all you guys are spending, $500 on this just because it says Supreme. I said, do the research and find out how much it really costs to make that. And he looked up at shoes and said, well, it's probably less than $10 to make this shoe. Yeah, and you're going to spend $1,200 on it. So think about that. Who's how that goes. So it finally dawned on him. And I think to all the youngsters listening out there, or parents, man, talk to your kids about this have them do their own research. Like, what is this brand really worth? Because you're hyping it up for somebody else, and then you're losing your money on making somebody else rich, which, that's great and all that. But for a kid that's struggling or for a family that's struggling just to try to keep up, I think this is what's great where we're talking about this.
Yeah, the peer pressure, the marketing. I mean, it comes at you from other people. And social media, I'm sure I'm not on it a whole lot, but I'm sure there's a lot there. But it also comes from the marketing, from the world out there. So, and I think, one reflective question, if you were going to just ask yourself if you're struggling with this or trying to help your kids, is if nobody else saw what you're buying right now, would you still buy it? Right? If nobody
Question.
knew, if nobody saw the brand, nobody saw the logo or whatever, that car, would you still buy it? Or is it about what, the world is going to perceive? So that's just a great question.
Yeah, and I think for a lot of old guys, right? I think cars tends to play a big role in that. Because remember, as a kid, I always wanted a Corvette, and I've seen some of these new ones, and I said at some point I'm going to own one, and then I got in one, and I couldn't get out of it because it's too low to the ground. So I was like trying to crawl out of it, like forget it, man. That dream is gone. Yeah, exactly. So,
I feel those for young people.
yeah, I caught that on really quick for sure. Folks, thank you for joining us today. We are having a great time talking about peer pressure, believe it or not, and yet we're still smiling about it. But please make sure you watch the beginning of the show. There's a lot of great content that we talked about so far. And we are at the tail end of the show. So, folks, you know what that means. Okay, I'm thinking peer pressure challenge. What are you going to peer pressure us with?
Oh, well, I like pen and paper. And I think for this one, it's just writing down a couple of thoughts. It's kind of a mindset, thoughtful challenge that I have for you. If this is something you struggle with, or someone in your family, a child or spouse or whatever struggles with it, I think to go through a process, set up your own process for screening and vetting whether the purchase is, going to be in alignment with your goals. And the first question you ask yourself is, do I really need it? Is it a need, a want, or a wish, right? Is this really some purchase that I can't delay and put off later or maybe never? The second one is, does this align with our financial goals, our values, right? Is it in the lane? Like when you go bowling, you want to stay in the lane, right? Is it in alignment with where I'm going and long term? And then am I buying this or leasing this to impress someone? Or if they weren't looking, would I do it anyway? And then write down your answers, and you can maybe do it on your phone if you're in line, right? Do it on your phone, answer those questions before you check out or click send, or fill the cart, and buy what's in the cart. Those are some great questions that might be helpful for you.
All right, folks, you heard the challenge. I don't want to say it's an
Yeah.
easy challenge, but you guys got to do it. And if you have any questions, please let us know. Also, if you have any other topics that you'd like Judy to address, please drop us a line. Let us know what else we can cover on the show as well, too. And remember, we are here every Tuesday morning at 8 a.m. with the replays on Thursdays at 8 p.m. Judy, any last parting words?
Oh, make it a great week wherever in the world you are. Make it a great week. Make it matter. You can do it.
All right, folks, we will see you guys next week. And next week, we're going to wrap up June with mid-year money checkups. So you might want to definitely tune into that and make sure that you share that with your friends. Until next week, be safe. See you guys.